All right, welcome into Starting Five, an old show with a new name. I don't know why it wasn't called this in the first place. We do a lot of basketball on this channel, more than we do baseball, and everything we do has the number 5 in it, with the exception of 3 yards per carry. And I never start at 9 o'clock these days anyway. It's always a little bit earlier or a little bit later. So we're going to go with Starting 5 from now on, and I was not going to get up at 5 in the morning, although I was almost already still up at 5 in the morning. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. We got Manny Chang, our producer today. He'll be putting up some of your comments. We're going to do a quick episode this morning because I feel like we're all kind of hungover. I mean, what the hell did we just witness last night? Anyway, want to mention our sponsors here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel and on this particular program. Our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. You can find them at allproconstructionbuilders.com. I got the text from Danny last night. He was in heaven too, as were all the Heat fans that follow this network. Allproconstructionbuilders.com. You got to get those storm windows. We just saw what a storm looked like. That wasn't even a hurricane. People were still digging that out, or digging out of it yesterday. And yesterday, literally. I was driving down to Miami and went down one of the side streets, and everything is still flooded down there. You imagine what a hurricane is like down here. You've been through hurricanes down here. Get the storm windows, get the storm doors. Mention 5 Reasons. You'll get 10% off your entire order, and that is significant, obviously, as you're trying to put windows and doors around the house that are going to protect you and your family. You can also do it, of course, in your place of business. So reach out to Danny. These are American products. This is a family company. These are the kind of people that you want to deal with. And again, they can service the entire area. So they're in Dade County, but they can service all the way down to the Keys, up to North Broward, all over South Florida. So reach out to them at allproconstructionbuilders.com. I'm going to give you the phone number. Direct to Danny, 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. Also, I want to mention UBreakWheelFix.com. That's UBreakWheelFix.com. Again, if you've been driving around after these floods, I ended up with a problem myself. Okay, reach out to all of these companies. They're perfect for me. Reach out to UBreakWheelFix.com. Mark and his team, another huge Heat fan. 305-748-0112. They can do the repairs for you. This is a complete automotive wheel solution. Okay, they can do the repairs, they can do the refinishing, they do the powder coating, they can get you these great colors, whether it's the Vice colors, if you want to go back into the olden days for the Heat, the Canes colors, the Dolphins colors. UBreakWheelFix.com. Again, that's UBreakWheelFix.com, based there in North Miami. And again, mention 5 Reasons when you do business with them. All right. There's been one reason to watch this team since the All-Star break. And we just saw it last night in full form. And I titled this, "What Did Jimmy Butler Just Do?" Because I can't put it into perspective, but I'm going to try today. We've got a comment from Aaron Anders. Is Jimmy now top 3 all-time, 2 or 3 all-time in Miami Heat history? Couldn't sleep last night from MIA. What a game. I mean, look, I haven't shaved. So that'll tell you. I slept right until this show. Was up until 3 in the morning just scrolling through Twitter. People were still on there. I tweeted at 2 in the morning, who's already rewatched this game? And 150 people said that they had right away. Is he top 2 or 3 in Heat history? He's got to win a title to cement himself, I think, in top 2, right? Because, LeBron did win 2 titles here as the best player on that team. But to just put into perspective last night, in some way, I was in Dallas when Dwayne did what he did to them in the 2006 finals. I was in Miami when he did what he did to the Mavericks in the 2006 finals. And again, being down 15 in a game 3 of the finals, when you're down 2-0, you're in the 3rd season, you're playing with Shaq, but you've emerged as the clear star of that team. You had this incredible run just to get to the finals, to drag a team that was dysfunctional for most of the year. That's coach, whether he was fired or he walked away. And you at one point, like halfway through the year, you were at 500. Halfway through the first round, you were 2-2, and you, Dwayne Wade, were yelling at Gary Payton and vice versa during that game. And you dragged that team to the finals, and you averaged 34.7 points in the finals on the biggest stage. And then if you're LeBron James and you do the things that he did with the Heat, game 6, okay, in Boston. I was there. I was sitting at Illegal Seafoods the night before game 6, scrolling through Twitter, asking Heat fans if they had any faith in the Heat winning that Game 6, and no one did. To that point, the Big Three era, I'd never seen Heat fans so collectively despondent. They thought they had no chance against Boston in that Game 6. We thought that Bosch was going to get traded and Spoelstra was going to get fired. Okay, that's what we were talking about a shoot-around. Me and Barry and Ira and others. This is it. This is it for this era. This era was a failure. And LeBron went out and scored 45, I believe, of the Heat's. Where they have 97 points that day, 45 of their 97. Okay? So we are spoiled. We are spoiled. We are spoiled as fans, and we're spoiled as observers. We're spoiled as media. I mean, again, I've covered the Dolphins kind of along the same lines over the past 25 years, and they've had no moments. Like, no moments. Like, what, Lamar Smith in 2000 with 209 yards? Nobody even remembers Lamar Smith. Chad Pennington season where they got blown out in the first round? I mean, this past year where it looked like they could actually do something and then Tua's injuries derailed all of that. Think of how many moments the Heat have had. And yet I think that last night was the best individual performance I've ever seen up close. Now, I wasn't there for LeBron's 61 because I was at Costco that night. Some of you may remember I wrote a column about that experience. My daughter was about to be born, so there were things to be bought. I couldn't make it down to the game. He scored, I figured, Tuesday night against Charlotte. What the hell's going to happen? He scored 61 points in a mask. Okay, so I didn't see that up close. All right, I saw Jordan. I covered games. Jordan was on the other side. I was young. I had more hair. And I saw him go nuts against the Heat up close. Okay. But again, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like last night. I don't. I'm going to need a few days to think about it. I mean, 22 points in the first quarter. I'll get to that, S-Dot. 22 points in the first quarter, 21 points in the fourth. He didn't enter until there were 9 minutes left. He scored 21 points in 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. They were down double digits. I asked Kayla Martin last night, I said, did you realize the turnaround there? You made a 22-point swing in 4 minutes. He's like, I was numb. And he was on the court doing a pretty damn good job, by the way. Kayla Martin was the second best player on the team yesterday. That's been the case a lot lately. That's a subject for another podcast, which we may do tonight. I don't know what the hell we just saw. I don't. I'm sorry. I mean, I try to be a little more eloquent than this typically, but I was sitting with Brady and Alex, and we have a rule. You do not cheer in the press box. We are in section 118 now. They put us together. Sometimes we're in 106. So we're right above the first section. We don't get those floor. I don't get those floor seats like I used to get. But we're right there. We're in 118. We have good seats. We have a view of everything. We have the view of the Heat bench. And we have a rule. You don't cheer here. You don't cheer here. Okay? I don't blame Alex. Alex jumped up. I'm going to give it away. Alex jumped up. When he hit the three, when Jimmy hit the three in transition, the step back, they called it a 2, I guess. He jumped up. I don't blame him. He can still go to the next game. That was unbelievable. Again, I've been there for Ray Allen's shot. Okay. I've covered all this. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I've just seen all of it in person. I've seen this organization has given us greatness. This organization has given us greatness. Now, they haven't always done right by the greatness, okay? There are a couple of years in there with Dwayne where they didn't give him enough help, and they got him help. We can talk about the Jimmy thing. Does this cover up? Look, if he wins this series and drags them to a series against the Knicks and then beats the Knicks and they're in the conference finals again against the Celtics, right back where they were last season, then there are going to be some that say, well, Jimmy has made this all okay. The fact that the front office didn't really upgrade this offseason, all the frustrations of a season in which you lost to Charlotte twice and lost to Orlando a couple times and lost to San Antonio at home and Detroit and all the other games that they lost that they shouldn't have lost this year where they were incredibly frustrating, right? Jimmy's made it all okay, but then there's others, and I understand the other perspective here too. And so I'm not going at them specifically. I'm going at them for never enjoying anything. But the crowd that was just pissed off the whole year and just wants to put everybody in the trade machine every 3 minutes, they're going to say that this is proof that you should be getting this generational player, and he is at this stage. He's a generational player like Dwayne and like LeBron, okay? You should be getting him some help, and I understand that perspective. I get it. I still think that they should try to enjoy the things that are actually happening, but I understand that perspective, okay? Like, I do not think that this exonerates the Heat from paying the luxury tax, because if you have a player like this who got you to within one of his shots of making the finals last year, almost by himself, then you can put him in a position where he's not going to be almost by himself again, right? Okay. And look, I say Kayla Martin's the second best player on the team last night. That's the guy they decided to re-sign. So they got that one right. Okay. They had a choice basically, him or PJ Tucker, in part because they had to stay within the confines of the luxury tax, because that was the orders from above. And so from a front office perspective, they made the right decision. You keep Kayla Martin over PJ Tucker 99 times out of 100. And after last night, I might say 100. Okay. But I understand the perspective that you say when Jimmy can do something like that, you have to give him as much help as you possibly can. I mean, look at LeBron. Look at LeBron, what LeBron did last night, 2020 game in the playoffs for the first time for him, actually first time ever for him in any game. And he is helping drag that team to the post past Memphis, but also they gave him help during the season. He asked for help, and they found a way to get him help. Okay, they got him 4 players, a couple of which have been really big in this series so far. So I understand that perspective. But for right now, let's just enjoy it. Okay? Because what Jimmy Butler is doing is really the stuff of fable. It is. Look, this LeBron's story is ridiculous. Okay? His life story is ridiculous. Okay? If you know it, okay, you know what his mother had to go through. You know about the coach who basically helped raise LeBron. You know about, and that he went to live with that coach because his mother couldn't get him to school consistently. You know everything that happened with LeBron and all the pressure and the chosen one and everything, and that he's lived up to it and more and more and more and more and more. It's maybe the greatest sports story ever told. Okay, and Heat fans were invested in that story. But Jimmy's story is crazier. Jimmy was essentially orphaned, and Jimmy wasn't the chosen one. Okay, I mean, Jimmy grew up in the poorest town in this country, in Tomball, essentially orphaned, doesn't go to a big name university at first. I mean, LeBron went straight out of high school to the pros. Jimmy went to junior college. Jimmy then goes to Marquette, not heavily recruited, doesn't start right away, ends up getting drafted 30th after our friend Norris Cole. Okay, don't rib Norris about that. We love Norris. And Norris helped him win championships. But goes 30th, doesn't start a game his rookie year. I mean, that team played against the Heat. He did not start a game his rookie season. He was just a defensive specialist. This is like Haywood Highsmith doing this in 10 years. Is Haywood Highsmith going to score 56 in a game? He was good last night, by the way, also. This is ridiculous what Jimmy Butler is doing. And I think it's one of the reasons that the national media, okay, doesn't really understand what's going on and never gives him his flowers. They did last night because there was no avoiding it. I mean, not that Barkley's national media necessarily. Barkley said it was the greatest performance he's ever seen on television. Okay. But for him to do this, okay, it's one of the most unlikely sports stories we've seen. You know, to score 56 points when you have really no help. And to beat the number 1 seed when that team was healthy. Yes, Giannis not 100%, but everybody was on the floor, and Giannis had terrific numbers and did dominate stretches of that game. And Drew played, and Brook played his best offensive games of the season. Oh, come on. We're not. Well, yeah, Royal, that's true. It is. But look, give Haywood Highsmith his flowers for last night, too. And also, Middleton played, even though it was hard to see it at times. Okay? I said last night, I've never seen a Heat player do more with less. And so, cycling back to the beginning of this episode, does it compare with Dwayne in the finals? Well, the stage is not the finals. Okay, Jimmy almost did this. I mean, he was pretty damn close to it. 2 of the games he did beat LeBron pretty much by himself. He didn't have Dragic. and he didn't have Bam, right? Or he didn't have a healthy Bam for one of them, didn't have Bam at all for the other one. So the stage is not the NBA Finals, okay? So it puts it a little behind Dwayne in that regard, okay? And the LeBron thing, there was an entire era at stake. So the stakes were higher there. But for an individual performance with so little around him, okay, from where Jimmy came from what the expectation level was on Jimmy compared to what it was on LeBron or even Dwayne to a certain degree for his career, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. And I don't know that I'll see it again. But then I say that, and then the Heat give us, or the players that they bring in. I don't want to say the Heat necessarily, the players that they bring in, whether it's the draft with Dwayne or trade/free agency with LeBron or trade/free agency with Jimmy. They've given us these kind of moments. And now the question comes in, do you think they can close it out or will they fold? Do you think he can close it out or will they fold? That's the way that I look at it. I have complete confidence in him to win one of these next 3 games if he gets enough help. Just enough. Okay? And last night I say he got no help. He did get help defensively down the stretch of that game from his teammates, particularly Caleb, but really everybody on the floor contributed. And even, again, Duncan on the other side, who was part of that closing 5, even though he didn't shoot a lot late, gave him some space because they still do guard him differently. Other teams do, especially when he's been shooting the way he's been shooting of late. Then they guard anybody else in the team, including Max Strus. And there was a stretch early in the fourth quarter, and Bud was asked about this after the game, where the Heat were +3. Okay, the Heat were +3 with Jimmy on the bench during those 3 minutes. If that doesn't happen, I turned to Alex before that stretch and I said, I don't know. And Brady, and I said, I don't know that he's come back in the game. Brady said that too. But is this it for Jimmy? Because if that game gets away in the first 3 to 4 minutes of that quarter, then you don't even know if Jimmy comes back, it's going to be too late. It seemed like it was too late anyway. They were down, 9 or 11 when he came back with 9 minutes left, with 9:11 left. He walked to the scores table with about 9:45 left. But if those first 3 minutes, if the Heat go -6 or something like that, then there's never an opportunity to close it. So he did get help in certain spots. That needs to happen at least one more time. And no, I'm not going to count on it for more than that. Because no, you can't count on Bam right now to provide the kind of offense around Jimmy that he needs. He just does not seem like the same player since before the All-Star break. And at this point, I don't have any confidence in him turning it around. Not now. Okay? So, yes, I believe, as you look at Van's stat there, 35 points on 63% shooting after 4 games. He's shooting 53% from 3. Okay? He's shooting, I mean, again, the 65% from the field, the 77% true shooting percentage, he's doing it against what was the best defense in the league for most of the year. But again, on a playoff stage. But again, he's been doing this now since the All-Star break. He shot 62.5% in the regular season since the All-Star break. This comes in messed up. Ethan, I believe Bam is more injured than what everyone is letting on. I think his hamstring is jacked. He seems like he doesn't have the same lift we saw in the first half. That may be true. It may be true. But I'm going to, and I don't know if it's true. I don't. But I'm going to put this in the perspective of, at this point, for the purposes of this discussion, I don't really care. The reality is Jimmy's got to get help from somebody, even if it's a 3-minute stretch of defense. But he's got to get help from somebody, and they just have to recognize, like they did last night, to keep just getting him the ball or just allowing him to take over and see if he can carry it through. So if I'm a little all over the place today, it's because, again, I need to rewatch that thing one more time because I think it's the best individual performance I've ever seen in person. From a Heat player, from an opponent, anybody. It's just the best individual performance. Not the highest stakes, not the one that will necessarily go down in lore from an overall NBA perspective like LeBron with the stare in Boston and the 45 points and everything that game meant. It was the definition of an era, one way or the other. Okay? And as a moment, I mean, nothing's going to beat Ray's shot. As a series, nothing's going to beat Dwayne in the finals. But for just one game, and particularly 2 quarters of fury, that was what Dwayne said in that huddle against Dallas in game 3 when they were down 15. We ain't effing going out like this. That was like the embodiment. Like Jimmy embodied that attitude. And I talked to Strus after and I said, I talked to Strus. Oh, sorry about that. I talked to Strus. That's what I was going to call on this early morning. I talked to Strus after and I said, what was he like? And he said he was more talkative than usual. He just gets locked in. I said, does he like zone out from everything? He says, no, he was more talkative than usual. He enjoyed that one and he deserved it. And he did. And again, we'll have more coverage here on the channel. I just wanted to kind of open the phone here and just sharing it with everybody. It's the best individual performance I've ever seen in my life. And he won the damn game going away against a team with arguably the best player in the world that was a #1 seed that was desperate to win that game to take it back to Milwaukee. I guess I didn't express it very well this morning, but to me, there really are, to a certain degree, there are no words. And yes, Haywood Highsmith will be dropping 56 points after the Heat pay him 3 years, $40 million, and then try to unload the contract. All right, thanks everybody for joining today. We'll have more coverage here on the channel. We got plenty of videos from last night that we posted up. I posted up Kevin Love video from the locker room, Kyle Lowry video from the locker room, Budenholzer video. I think we've got Jimmy video, Bam video. It's all going to be here on the channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Also, a couple episodes of 5 on the Floor coming up. We'll be back on Playback tomorrow. We had a big crew on there yesterday. We appreciate that. And everybody's following all the content. And I didn't mention this, but of course, keep us in business. Go to Prize Picks, use the code 5, FIVE. Get that initial deposit matched up to $100. I don't know what I just said. I don't know what I just saw. Just enjoy it, okay? Just enjoy it. We can talk about transactions soon because that's coming. They need to help this guy. But yesterday we saw what happens when you help yourself. Have a good day, everybody.